Hi, everybody. Just to recap, we are talking about our client's home. It's a project that we did in Bloorcourt. It's a multi-generational form where our clients, father and stepmom, live downstairs on the main and lower level, and our clients live on the second and third floor. We've already discussed the layout and the design changes that we made.
Why do you say design
I don't
changes?
know.
Like we kind of do that.
We're kind of designers. I
Yeah.
mean, this was actually a big job.
Yeah.
I tend to, I think, under downplay maybe, the scope of things, because I don't know why I do that, but that's maybe a different conversation for a different time. But we went through, however you're sort of viewing this, out of sequence, in sequence. We went through the kitchen.
Sometimes it's hard for us to wrap our head around the fact that people don't watch these in the order that we record them.
We're still new at this.
Yeah, we're YouTubers.
Please just
Yeah.
give us a bit of a break.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we've already discussed the, sort of like the overall layout, I suppose, or the overall vision, I would say, for the second floor. Sometimes I get confused between saying second floor and main floor, but that's just my brain. Anyway, the overall vision and sort of layout for the second floor. And we discussed the kitchen already, and then, sort of
depending on when you've watched this, you may have seen all of them. So I think if I can interject for a second.
Please help me out.
There's this whole series called Design File, right? And what we're doing is we are going through this project. This is our project Bloorcourt. If you check out our website, you can see stills and photos of that. And we've also done some other videos. But this one is us taking you through the design of our client's home, which is on the second and third floor of a house in which they share ownership with their parents. The parents live on the main floor, and the couple lives on the second and third floor. So we're taking you through the various areas of the house and giving you the design process and the design thinking for each area of the home. This episode is all about the living area.
Right. Thank you. Great setup.
Okay. So we're going to
step into it.
Let's get into it. And here we are, Project Bloorcourt. And what we are doing is, as we sort of said in our little intro, is we're continuing to do these design files and take you through these before and afters, and these sort of different areas of the home. So today's episode is the living area. But as you'll see soon enough, didn't start out that way, did it, Amelia?
That's a good segue.
Yeah. Let's talk about this. Tell me about this plan that you sort of came upon and what you were kind of thinking, maybe.
Right. So this is the as-is layout, what we started with at the beginning of the design process.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this was or not obviously, maybe not so obvious to some. This was this is a duplex. So the second and third floor were a separate apartment. It was sort of like a conversion, like an ad hoc conversion. So what that means is, the staircase to go up to the third floor was in the middle of the second floor, which really didn't allow for a lot of flow through space, and it broke up the space and it made it really awkward.
Chop.
Yeah, and chopped up the spaces.
Yeah.
We spoke about this in an earlier episode. I don't know if you're watching this out of
or a later episode, whatever
right.
You're watching.
Right, but we ended up in the design, architectural project process. We ended up actually moving that staircase to
You're giving away. You're revealing too much.
Well, I mean, it's important to sort of talk about it because it influenced the layout for the second floor.
Right.
We moved that staircase against the wall, which now then provided us with, an expansive space or an open concept space, which allowed us to move what was the existing bedrooms. Our clients, when they moved into this apartment, had their bedroom at the front of the house where the bay windows are. Thank you very much for pointing that out. We ended up actually moving that bedroom and the personal spaces upstairs on the third floor, which we'll speak to in a later episode. And then the main floor now became the cooking, living, entertaining, dining space, which allowed for a lot more flexibility, better layout, functionality, all those wonderful things.
Yeah. So let's So let's take a look at what things look like,
in the before times.
in the before times.
I like
right?
to drum roll.
So here, I mean, you could probably get a Great night's sleep in this room because it looks like the sun doesn't penetrate these windows somehow.
I mean, also,
big, huge bay windows, no light.
Right. Also, our photography is terrible.
Right. Yeah, I think that's more photography
Yeah,
than
exactly.
the light.
I think you can see that too in
Right.
these photos.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's a bedroom. It's fine. The great thing is
Serviceable.
yeah, I mean, the great thing is those bay windows, right? It's at the front of the home too, and our clients have a great. I think it's a cherry tree. Not that I'm, you know, like a
Crabapple.
or crabapple. Thank you. Yeah. Anyway, so it's nice to be able to have that light coming through, and you know, once we moved that staircase, it sort of opened up that whole front and middle part of the house and allowed for a lot of great light to come through.
How did the clients feel about doing that? Like when you were they thinking that about that already, and that was like you guys coming together on that, or was that net new for them and then tough for them to bend their minds around? Like, do you recall?
Well, I think you know what it was. Once we discussed moving that staircase, it was just the most logical thing.
But it was kind of like, oh my God, why didn't I think of that before? Kind of one of those deals.
Yeah, and it's also, you know, we needed to squeeze in. This is the other thing too, which we talked about this in an earlier episode. Is this apartment had to become converted into like a fully serviceable, independent apartment from what's happening on the main and lower level, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, we also had to make space for HVAC, you know, all the like non-sexy things like HVAC, an electrical panel, you know, water heater, all these things, right? So it was sort of, that was an additional challenge that we had, is sort of how to lay out this space, make it open and functional, but also, you know, kind of make this into its own serviceable apartment within a home, if that makes sense.
It totally makes sense, and I think maybe that's one thing. I mean, and it's an unsexy thought, so maybe people only want to have sexy thoughts.
Maybe that's a different discussion.
Yeah, wrong video. But I mean, it's the huge part of a designer's job too, right? Is ensuring that we're able to facilitate all this functionality and all this other stuff, because there's infrastructure there that has to happen, right? It's like, you know, so those things like you mentioned, HVAC, utility, electrical, blah 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 blah, plumbing, it has to happen and be, you know, facilitated, and all the while, you know, creating all this like beauty and all this stuff up front. So that's not easy.
No, it's not. And I will say, before we sort of get into the after, we've got a couple. Ooh,
we'll tease it.
Yeah, floor plan in progress, floor plans to share, just to sort of give everyone an idea of, you know, the design process, what we go through. But I think the other thing that I'll say too is, you know, renovations, and we do a lot of renovations, are, I feel like a lot of the time, more complicated than starting something from scratch, like doing a new build, because you're retrofitting things too, right? Especially in older Toronto homes, or older homes in general.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to basically sort of like retrofit, you know, modern things into a space.
So yeah, so like retro
or renovating.
Renovating, yeah, yes. It's not retrofitting. I guess, like, yeah, if we want to sound like we're from the 50s. Going into space. We're going to retrofit. But like renovating homes, like, I mean, you know, we've done our fair share of like older homes, like 100 plus years, right? You know,
it's complicated.
It is complicated. Like what are, like, you know, can you think of like maybe a few challenges that
like for this project?
Yeah, for this one, or tend to pop up kind of thing?
Right. Well, with this one specifically, you know, plumbing and sort of plumbing. Plumbing is annoying, but it's necessary in modern times.
We need plumbing.
But in this
even the
case,
Romans loved plumbing.
Right. In this case, we, you know, we had a concept, obviously, and we needed to put bathrooms and sort of run plumbing and pipes in certain locations. And, you know, once the walls were taken out, and some discovery was done, it turned out that, you know, in order for us to put the shower and the toilet upstairs where we needed to run bulkheads on the second floor, or not in the second floor, on the second floor. which was kind of annoying. Nobody likes bulkheads. Designers hate bulkheads, but they're sometimes necessary. In this case, we had to sort of, and you'll see it in the after photos, we had to run it sort of from the cabinet where the refrigerator is all the way up to, I would say, sort of near the sink, above the sink, where the sink and faucet are. So, I mean, not ideal aesthetically. Is it like amazing? No, but it's what it is.
Yeah, you don't often get too many clients saying like, I want bulkheads everywhere.
Yeah. And it's irritating, but it's obviously a necessity for things like plumbing, HVAC, all that sort of stuff, right? So I think that was one thing that we encountered, where we also had to pivot because it affected what we could do with the plumbing was restricted, because again, we're sort of renovating, retrofitting. It's not like we demoed the entire house. So we had to sort of pivot and redesign the layout for the upstairs bathroom, which we'll talk about in a later episode.
Yeah.
So I think that, sorry to interject, but I think, the important thing that we always stress to clients, existing clients or new and potential clients, is there's a plan, and you always sort of, try to achieve that plan. But in renovations, you always have to be prepared to potentially pivot and make decisions on the fly sometimes.
Yep.
Because there are those extenuating circumstances sometimes that pop up, and it's just, it's part of the process. It's what happens when you're renovating, and it's what happens when you're renovating in a 100+ year home.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we tell clients like, plan for things to go wrong and expect us to fix them and solve them. Yeah. I mean, so that was the bulkhead and plumbing segment that you never knew you needed.
Yeah. Right.
I think the other thing I would add, I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily, I don't think it was a big part of this one, but one thing also is that, with like, when we're renovating old homes, it's like there's a lot of really cool and beautiful stuff in old homes that we'll also try and like preserve, right? And before, I don't know, I know you counsel clients and stuff like that, is, think twice before you go and start like, wrecking things that are like really beautiful and period, and seeing how, if we're not designing for you, whoever is like, or if you're doing it yourself or something else, like figure out how to maybe incorporate some of that stuff.
Yeah. And you know what, that's a good, and we won't spend more time on this than sort of just this next point that I'm going to make, but that's a good point, because in this case, there were those old school sort of, I say old school in quotes though, like the bay windows in the front, right? I think, we could have completely ripped those out and done sort of like something more modern with those windows. But our clients really wanted a home that like reflected or kept some of those vintage and sort of,
some of the character of the home, right?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say, bay windows are so like, Victorian, Edwardian or whatever, but I think, they didn't want like a completely modern box. They wanted to retain some of that, sort of charm, I guess, and also quirkiness too, right? Of living in an older home. I think if you're living in an older home, you have to be okay with like some quirks too.
Yeah.
So that's, that's a good point to make, is, sometimes you don't need to necessarily rip everything out.
Yeah. And we certainly don't look to, especially if we don't need to.
Also keeps your budgets down as well.
It might. All right, let's get back into it and see the after now. Yeah. We're nearing the reveal. And exciting. So, let's look at that, perhaps maybe familiar hand-drawn sketch.
The ideation process.
That's your actual handwriting. Yeah. Wow. I mean, I wonder if someone can. Never mind.
No thoughts there. Yeah, so I think it's important to know, before we get into like CAD layouts and all this stuff. I mean, not a lot of people do that, but I still like to, we still like to sort of, pen, paper, vellum, tracing paper, ruler, like all these things.
Craftsmanship.
Yeah. I don't know. It just makes me feel a bit more connected, I think.
100% agree.
Yeah, to the process. I don't know what it is.
I do the same thing with my outdoor stuff and planting plans and all that stuff. It's amazing.
Anyway, so this is sort of like a rough sketch of the layout. We had already talked about, how we nixed the island, or surprise, maybe
What?
if you didn't see episode 1, you should go and watch it. And then the following slide is the CAD.
Is that your cue for me to switch to
Yes,
the?
please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Boom.
Vanna.
Okay.
Again, in this option, we still had the the table and island, but you
Yeah.
can kind of get a sense of, now by taking out that staircase from the middle, we were
Look
able
at
to
that.
yeah, we were able to spread, actually elongate the kitchen, right?
Yep.
So to allow for a lot more cabinetry, some amazing appliances that our clients chose, and then integrated that space into the living space.
Right. And this works like, I mean, your brief was, and your clients are people who are social, right?
They
Like
have a huge extended family.
huge
They
extended
have
family.
Like weekly dinners with people.
They literally live on top of their family. So there's lots of back and forth.
Right.
But I mean, having this main floor bedroom plopped down there and then cut off, and then this kitchen in this space, and then
it just wasn't functional. Yeah.
Crazy when you compared to this.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But
and now all that light goes through.
Yeah.
They've got great light.
So you've got it here and here.
Yeah.
Right.
Even in those, really dim sort of, gray Toronto fall days, there's some decent light coming through that space, which is great.
Yeah, gray Toronto days.
Mm-hmm.
Studio 191 believes that Benjamin Moore could come up with an entire fan deck of just grays.
Based on Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto 1 through 306.
Anyway, Benjamin Moore, this is a pitch for you. We would love to collaborate with you on this.
Never mind Blue Jay Blue or whatever you have. It's
Toronto Gray.
Toronto Gray.
From November to May.
Yeah,
that's what it should be called. Anyway, we are getting too much into paint colors.
Yeah.
Let's
so
kind of see how the space evolved and how it transformed. So our clients, the first thing that sort of jumps out at me again is that beautiful light. I think we shot this, mid-morning, and it wasn't a particularly sunny day. So there's, I'm giving you some behind the scenes of, when we did this photo shoot. But our clients also had some amazing art that we had. They had reframed, and we had it installed above the sofa. The sofa was actually pre-existing. So
I love that cognac kind of color.
And it had like the right patina.
Yep.
It was from, a vendor like local in Toronto, which was great. And then now, that space in that living room, it actually feels like really expansive and comfortable. Like,
you mean compared to this?
Right.
Why?
Right.
I can't imagine why anyone would want to
right.
have what you just showed us when they could have this.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And, I think also one thing that I'll add here too is my eyes sort of going, not just to the art and to the sofa, but also to the window dressings, right? To the drapery. I think we always sort of stress that to clients too, is if, it's sort of like those finishing touches. And drapery, you can have like a random outfit, but you got to have like really good shoes. If you've got good shoes, it notches everything up. And I sort of
brings it all together.
Yeah, and I sort of say that about drapery all the time. Drapery and lighting, like it really sort of sets spaces apart. And I think in this case, it's great because it sort of softens up the room. There's a lot of, masculine finishes in this space. If we want to sort of go through the other images, like walnut and sort of black finishes as well, and there's green in there, so a lot of sort of strong colors. So I think the drapery really softens up the space and diffuses the light really nicely. And there's fire trucks going by, so that's probably what you're hearing in the background in our office.
And you were able to get a fireplace in there.
Yeah,
look at that.
I know.
And see these little right there.
That's an electric fireplace. And so electric fireplaces is going to be my thing for
me. There we go.
25 seconds, not too much time.
Amelia's on the electric fireplace street team. Right. Brand ambassador.
Right. I don't have a brand ambassadorship, but I feel like I should. But anyway, this is another conversation for another time. But electric fireplaces, I think, have a bad rep. I think we think of them as like Vegas 1992, where it's like cheesy, and some of them are cheesy.
1992 was a very good year.
Right, exactly. But some of them can be cheesy. It's all about the components and the media that you put inside, right? So in this case, we had like timber, like logs, to sort of made to look like a real gas fireplace. You have like different lighting options. In this case, you set it to orange. You don't set it to like blue or purple or whatever, unless you want those Vegas vibes. Our vendor that we work with is great. There's so many options, like really shallow. Like in this case, I can't recall the exact depth of this fireplace, but I feel like maybe it was like 8 inches.
Yeah,
like,
the profile is really
yeah,
slim.
like super minimal.
Wow.
One of the other standouts.
But it gives, if I might add,
yes,
it an
ambiance.
Well, yes, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. As well as depth.
Right.
Because I think what happens is you
Mhm.
feel, it makes it feel bigger. Just I think our mind and our brain says fireplace, warmth and depth, right? Even though it's, I guess, this slim profile, it's like this. It's almost like brain trickery.
Yeah, and you may say, "Where's the television?" Well, the television.
Well, you might.
And we did it. We position this
tell
like
me.
asymmetrically. I typically don't, unless we have to, and unless we're stuck. Typically, don't like TVs above fireplaces. In this case, this was the only spot, but we did it asymmetrically, and we sort of broke it up with, some open shelving, which is great for some of our clients.
Nice shelfie there.
A shelfie, yeah. For some of our clients, like personal items and vases, stuff like that. And the other standout thing about the fireplace or the surround, and we get a lot of questions about this image, is the face of the fireplace. So it looks like stone, right? Like, doesn't it look like?
Yeah, exactly. So what did you guys use in that? What did you?
Well, we originally, why I made that sound effect, I don't know.
I can put in sound effects in post.
Right. We originally specified a beautiful porcelain, really thin material that could, that added some depth and dimension to the space, and it just, budgets what they were. Construction was, became more expensive, et cetera, et cetera. We had to find a more cost-effective alternative. This is actually like millwork paneling. And yeah, because this is a gas fireplace, totally safe. Yeah, totally safe to do this.
Yeah.
Works well. Gave us the look of like stone.
Totally.
Slate.
I was gonna guess maybe like a lime wash or like some sort of micro cement, but I can't believe that. That looks amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And worked out really well. Yeah. Still sort of gives us that vibe and that look, and not without that crazy price tag.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy with it.
And I also like the use of the glass on the cabinets there.
Oh, that's a pantry cabinet, right?
The pantry cabinet
right.
there.
So it's sort of, we like to, when we're doing like a big run of cabinetry, we do like to break up the cabinet door faces, by adding glass. In this case, it's reeded glass. So you really, our clients are very neat and organized, but you don't have to be. It's kind of, it's difficult in real life to be neat and organized all the time. So the reeded glass is great because it's sort of, it allows you to kind of see inside, but not really. So if things aren't uber organized, it's okay. Yeah. In this case, that cabinet is actually for their pantry / extra bar storage, which, in a small space, it's great to have that additional storage.
Yeah. And yet again, it adds like another layer to the space, and also I feel like it sort of keeps the lightness, right? Because when you talk about breaking up all that walnut, it's so like monumental, right?
And yes, like it can be dark, right?
Yeah,
very masculine.
Yeah. So yeah, beautiful job.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Oh, can I sit there?
Yeah, right. Well, this shot I love, and I think, here's the other thing. I don't want to make this like a budget video or whatever, because we are, this is not about that. But this is great because I want to talk about sort of what we did with this chair and how we treated existing furniture that our clients had and just sort of updated and modernized it, right? So the shape of this chair is great. It's amazing. It fits the space well. The fabric, the existing fabric, or the fabric that was on that chair, just didn't work. It was worn, etc. So instead of, we actually had a chair sourced, and you know what? went back to getting this chair reupholstered, new cushions, and
It's an
it was
amazing chair.
and it was at a fraction of the cost. It's a great sort of green boucle fabric,
Yes.
really comfy, comfortable, fits the vibe and the look of the space. And you know, we were able to save actually quite a bit of cash.
And it's a beautiful chair.
Yeah,
like,
it's a great chair.
Is that like a teak?
I think it's
Chair?
a teak. Yeah, it's a teak,
so like
and it's a
Danish
vintage
kinda
sort of,
lounge,
you know, mid-century vibes. And it just, you know, it's kind of completes the look, but also, I mean, obviously functional, right? Allowing someone to
Beautiful.
sort of sit there and read or have a glass of wine or a coffee.
Yeah. Repurpose and reupholster, especially when you got beautiful bones like that kind of thing there.
Yeah. So that's the living
room.
space, of our Bloorcourt project.
Awesome. Well done.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah. Good job on that living room.
Thanks.
I want to live in that room.
I know. You know what? When we've gone back to visit our clients, I really feel connected to that space.
Yes.
Weirdly, every project that we do, I'm just like, I kind of want to live here.
But I think that's important.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of cool. Like, you know, if we can find a way to sort of love the space in our own way, it's like, I think that's right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So if you love this space, segue, and scope creep, and
like and subscribe.
Subscribe. Look in the comments. We'll try and post some like relevant stuff.
Give us some feedback. We're sort of, you know, we're noobs, as the kids say.
Yeah.
And
trying to find our way.
Yeah. We're just trying to put some stuff out there. Hopefully you like it. If you don't, if you want something changed, let us know too. We can deal with the criticism. Well, mostly Pete, but anyway.
I will deal with criticism to a point.
Anyway, like and subscribe, and thanks for watching. Bye.